Welcome into the Pillow Talk edition of my day. This is Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I am Pugs Moran. He is James Parker. Let's get him in here right now. James Parker, look at him. There he is.
Hey, everybody. Looks like my camera's slipping a little bit. Let me fix that. There we go. Is that better? Sort of ish.
I don't know.
All right. Good enough. How you doing?
I'm fine. Today during the high noon stream, I do another stream every Monday through Friday at noon every day. That's hot topic driven. It's hot topics, current events, headlines, whatever it is that's happening in the world that people are buzzing about. I give it to you every day, Monday through Friday at noon Central Standard Time. And one of the things that I noticed today, James, the chat room wasn't working. Look, it's not working now either. Look, see Al? Al is like, Al, can you see Al?
No, I can't.
Can't see the chat room. All right, hold on. Chat over.
Oh, yeah. So I see him behind the scenes, but I see he's not getting put up on the screen.
I have no idea what's going on with our chat room, but this has been a problem all day. And I also can't share things the way I used to.
Can we do this where we can pull an Al up like that? Okay, that works.
Well, yeah, that works. But I mean, I like to have it on the side of the screen so that people can follow along, and All right, we're supposed to have another guest. We're supposed to have Emil joining us again today, but I don't know where he is. How was your weekend?
My weekend's fine. I mean, not incredible, but most of it was just spent doing kid stuff. So if I complain about it, I'm a dick, You
don't come with a story. You don't got a kid story. I got kid stories, and actually, I don't really have any good kid stories. Although I talked about this today at noon. How old is your oldest boy?
12.
12. Oh, okay, great. So I don't know what kind of is this Rex we're talking about?
Yeah, Rex is 12.
Okay. So now Rex, from what I can tell, Rex seems to be a very smart, very gifted, creative, artistic guy. I don't know if he's a big, dumb meatball like my kid. My kid is 13, and my kid is a big, dumb meatball. So you may not have these kinds of conversations, but you want to know? My kid, he walks into the room, James, and maybe you have versions of this because you got bunches of kids. My kid walks in the room and he goes, "Dad, I got a question for you." And I'm thinking, oh man, here we go. Oh, he's got a serious question. But he's a 13-year-old boy and he's a meatball. He looks me dead in the eye, James, and as serious as a heart attack, he says, "Who would win in a fight, Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali?" That's what I love about having a 13-year-old boy. A big, dumb meatball question. And he was serious about, apparently, it was getting heated between him and a friend. And he came to me for a little bit of expert judgment. I knew could have been anything though, James. It could have been, "Dad, I think I got a girl pregnant." You know what I mean? It could have been anything. But no, he's 13, and it was who would win in a fight, Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali.
It could have been, "Dad, I think I got a girl pregnant."
Could have.
You don't want to dial that back a little bit. You don't want to just tap the brakes maybe a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
And Dad, he's 13 again?
He's 13, yeah.
I mean, even in Bug Tussle, that's a stretch.
All right, well, we can move on from that little, anecdote that I dropped in. I mean, so who wins? How do you answer that question? Your 13-year-old meatball of a kid comes to you and says, Dad, James, who wins in a fight? Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, or Bruce Lee?
See, I know what you're going to say because you're a martial artist guy, and of course, the skills of the martial artist far outweigh just the raw athleticism of Muhammad Ali. So of course Bruce Lee would win because he would just hit him in this magic spot in the neck, and Muhammad Ali would turn to jello and then probably just spontaneously combust. But all seriously, I do think Bruce Lee would probably win that.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to my noon show, because if you did, you'd have heard, no, Muhammad Ali would have broken that little man in half. Muhammad Ali was a big man. I don't care how quick. Here's the example that I gave. Look, you know that thing that we always see in the Bruce Lee movies where he goes up to the guy's face and he goes, pep, 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 like really fast. And the guy's like, and he gets like hit. If you tried to do that to Muhammad Ali, if a guy Bruce Lee's size did that to Muhammad Ali would just grab him and literally just snap him in half. That would have zero. Bruce Lee comes flying across the room, all 105 pounds of him, trying to land on top of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a 220-pound heavyweight boxer. He'd have just been like, what? Ugh. Now, if it was like Bruce Lee sized Muhammad Ali, then yeah, I think that Bruce Lee probably had more in his arsenal of weaponry to, do in a fight. But man, Muhammad Ali was a big man and Bruce Lee was not. That's
All
just
right. So how big did you say Muhammad Ali was? 220, 6'2"?
yeah, I don't know. I honestly
All right.
don't know. He
Well,
was
I'm
heavyweight champion of the world, and I know
okay.
what heavyweights have to be.
All
So
right. I'm 6'3", 225, and you don't think I can beat up 81-year-old Chuck Norris?
no, because you are not Muhammad Ali or Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris. You are just dude from Bug Tussle who's
Right.
had one too many beers and is about to get his clock cleaned by 90-year-old Chuck Norris.
Disagree, but I think you're making my point for me. I think any objective observer can see the double standard there.
No, how is it a double standard when we're talking about Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali? We're talking about two world-class trained combat artists.
Right, and I'm
You
also
and Chuck Norris, we're not talking about you being a world-class combat artist. It is not the same.
right, but I'm hinging my hopes here on the fact that the difference between me and Muhammad Ali's prowess as a fighter is somehow compromised by the difference between Bruce Lee's able-bodied theoretical self and Chuck Norris's geriatric actual self.
Hey, where did you come down on the Brittany Griner one? Did you ever take a position on that? Can you take Brittany Griner?
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yeah.
Not a
Oh, Jesus
chance in
Christ.
hell. You would get your ass whipped by Brittany Griner. First of all, her fists are like the size of your face. Her reach advantage. Oh my God, you better hope she doesn't know how to kick. Because if she can, you'll never get near her.
Okay, fine. I guess I just lose in whatever match I go up against. It can be Bruce Lee, I understand, but an 81-year-old Chuck Norris or some lady basketball player who has no fighting training either. I guess I
But
just
she's getting the edge because she's a
who
gigantic
can I
world
beat
class
up, Pug?
athlete.
Who can I beat up? This little old lady crossing the street with the walker. Could I beat her up, Pugs? Am I allowed
I
to win?
bet you if I walked around your neighborhood, I could find any number of people on your block who you could beat up. I bet you're not the wimpiest dad. You're not wimpy at all. You are an above average dude. You are large. You are intimidating. But, you ain't
But
beating Chuck Norris. You ain't beating Chuck Norris.
he's 81.
Yeah,
Listen, man, think of
you're
how
not
hard it is just to get through life without your back hurting right now, and you're 55. Go ahead and throw on another quarter of a century to your cartilage wear and tear between your vertebrae, and tell me if I can't just go up to Chuck Norris on the top of his head and have him collapse like Wile E. Coyote's accordion.
I suppose you could. But let me put it to you this way.
Okay.
You and the family, you're at I don't know. You're at Disney World. You're waiting in line on one of those racist rides. I don't know which one you pick it. Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, the one with the burning cross,
Right,
whatever.
right. And everybody's pushing and shoving. It's hot. You've been waiting in line a long time, and the people in front of you are Brittany Griner and family. Right. And so now all of a sudden it's the Parkers, and you're pushing, and now you guys are shoving each other, and all of a sudden it just goes like one of those world star videos, right? Where it's just fit, just people just windmill punching. You really think you could survive that from like 7 foot tall Brittany Griner?
Oh, I would excel. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. I do. Look, I've had experience hanging out with the girls basketball team in college, and I don't know if I bored you with these stories because they're not that fantastic, but oh man, I really liked hanging out with girls that were like 6', 6'3", like their center was the same height as me, and I used to just stand next to her and think, man, Amy,
If
if we
she was
had
hotter,
80, yeah, well, I'm
she
not sure she
man,
wouldn't have had
if she
me.
was just not a giant lesbian, we would be really a great couple.
Yeah, that was probably my bigger obstacle,
Yeah.
was her orientation. But, I mean, we coulda had just giant babies, so there's always the fascination with that. But the super disappointing point is when we would play basketball with them, like the guys, the soccer field was next to the basketball gymnasium where the girls practice, and if it rained, we would run into the gymnasium, and, if they were finishing practice, we would just play pickup games against the girls team, and we would crush the living dog snot out of them. And if we would go up for a rebound and giant Amy girl, who's also 6'3", me and her grab the basketball at the same time and both jerked away with it, I would pull her up off of her feet. You know, like we had to be careful with these girls, and these were the big stout girls. These were these big shield maiden Valkyrie looking broads, man. These big Scandinavian Viking
And
ladies.
again, where did you go to college?
Bug Tussle State.
Okay, so this wasn't Baylor. This
No,
wasn't
no, it
the
wasn't
Baylor
Baylor.
women's basketball team. This was Bug Tussle State
No,
and a bunch
I
of
can't come up. I can't
football.
ever come up with any example or any hypothetical or any analogy that is up to your standards. But you're just gonna have to take
No,
what
because
you get.
my primary contention is that the fact that she's a world-class athlete who's been competing at a high level for decades now, that's the reason why I think she could whip your ass. That is a very tangible argument that I'm making here.
Okay,
She's a
well, look, I haven't gone up against Brittany Griner. I'm just saying though, I have gone up against other 6'3" girls who lift weights 5 days a week
yeah.
and who have made their bones based on their athletic prowess. Full ride scholarship. I know it's just Division II college, Buck Tussle State,
It's not
and
just that, but there is just a flagrant lack of regard for how hard these women at the elite level of female basketball work. You're just equating all the different programs as being the same. Bug Tussle State, Baylor, Kentucky win.
I'm
What's
not
the other
saying
one?
it's the
What's
same.
Virginia? The
I'm saying
Vols.
it's close enough that I'm not totally talking out of turn in the idea that I have wrestled with some of these, bigger women. And even though they were of comparable size, I could still outlift these chicks. I could still outrun them. I could still outjump them. I could dunk and they couldn't.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think you could out dunk Brittany Griner. I don't think you could outlift Brittany Griner. I bet you she could deadlift way more than you. I mean, if you've seen her
No,
arms.
I don't think you can. I'd probably be
All
close.
right, we've got somebody waiting in the on deck circle, somebody that you need to introduce. We have just wasted way too much time on whether or not you can beat up women. That's not what I want this show to be remembered for. So,
Because
James,
the answer is clearly yes, I can. But no, this is the great Cody Burleson, Cody from the Pugs and Kelly show days.
Cody, look at him. Look at him.
Welcome, sir.
Another former 105 threer.
Cody, when's the last time you got in a fight with a woman and did you win?
Probably my wife, and no.
Okay.
But
could you beat up Brittany Griner?
Probably not. I like to think. I mean, she's done some time, but also
after a year in a gulag, she will still whip your two asses.
And she has much better stamina than I be. I totally not. Yeah.
That's honestly what it's coming down to, because fighting requires cardio. And I really think that you guys will go all in the first 30, 45 seconds, and she'll dance around and evade you because she's pretty athletic. And then you're just going to be gassing. And she's going to be like, what are you talking about? We got 3.5 more quarters here. Let's go.
All right. So for those who don't know who Cody is, Cody was an intern on the Pugs and Kelly show, and then you got hired on at the station and stayed around in some other capacities. And you were part of the whole Live 103 roller coaster for how many years were you there?
Can I interrupt him for just 1 second, because I want to make sure that he gets the credit that he deserves here. I make a distinction in my head among all of the people who have worked on our show. In my head, I make a line of demarcation. There are those who I think of as producers, and those who are just interns. And there's plenty of people who I love who are just. Cody's in my head. Cody's a producer. Cody was a big part of that show. I wouldn't diminish what his contribution was by, letting people think that he was just an intern, because he started out as an intern. But, like you and like Eric and Sybil, that's it. That's the big four right there. Except Paco. He just, Paco just filled in everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that fair point. So how many years were you there, Cody?
Oh man, it's 7 or 8, I think. I'd have to
almost the whole run then, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I left shortly after they flipped to sports. So whenever that was, it was probably maybe 6 months after that, or within that time frame. Whenever they flipped to the sports format, I was gone shortly thereafter.
How'd you find the station? What was the first you heard of 105.3?
I was a fan. I listened. Because I was working nights at a really bad job, and so it was on my drive on the way in. I was listening. I was always just a fan of the afternoon show and mainly, Pugs and Kelly because it was on my drive in. And I just remember, I think I was driving home after work. It was like 1 a.m. So it was always whatever the overtime show was back then, which I don't remember. Was they were airing what we did it a couple times was whenever they were looking for interns, the little pre-recorded commercial overnight. And in my head, I was like listening to it, I'm like, I should do that. And I'm in my head, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to get it. Why even try? So I sent an email off at like 3 a.m. And then I woke up and then I got a reply back and I was like, they're probably like, oh, this is a form letter. Thank you for your interest, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of what started. I did the interview and that's what kind of started it all.
So I've been asking everybody that's been jumping on here, and don't take this as any kind of knock against you because it's basically true across the board. I don't know how I know any of you people. It's just like you people were just one day like permanent fixtures in my life. I don't know where. So I'll ask you, Cody, the same question I've asked everybody. Where'd you come from? Like, how did you how did we meet? Do you remember the first time we met?
On the show you're talking about?
I'm just in life. Like, where did you come from? Like, how did you and I become people that knew each other?
Well, as you can tell by my accent, I'm from East Texas, clearly.
I
Um, just went out to school in the middle of nowhere and always never wanted to be in that town, even when I was going to school. So I just graduated and got the hell
Sounds
out.
familiar, doesn't it, Pugs? Sound like anyone else you know?
Yeah. A lot of
That's
you rural kids do whatever you can to come to the bright lights of the big city. Make your
hmm
bag of gold.
right. And a lot of it was just I went away to college for a year and that wasn't working. So then I moved back home. That was a joy. And that's where I was working the meaningless job. And then I stumbled upon the radio and then I just went all in. And so to the point where
And
I
you
can say
thought, hell, if I'm going to have a meaningless job, it's at least going to be a meaningless job that I can
I'm going to at
enjoy.
least have fun and be entertaining. So, to the point where the internship requires college credit at the time. I don't know if they ever fixed it. So I enrolled in the local community college in a class, and then like 2 weeks later, dropped the class, but didn't tell anyone. So I was still technically an intern, and then I just kept showing up. Technically, interns were only there for a semester,
Yeah,
and
yeah. But nobody ever asked anybody to leave, especially only if you sucked. Interns,
right.
if you were asked to leave, it's because you irritated people. You were obviously a mic moth, or you just sucked. But
I
pretty much, yeah, you were allowed to stick around. Hell,
and
you
and
might
I
have gotten a show out of it.
and I don't remember who told me, not because I'm not gonna narc on them, but I honestly don't remember because I was just like it was getting close to the end and people just goes, what and they just said, just keep showing up. And that's what I did until
That was
finally it was you.
No, I remember telling you because you were sweating it, and I told you, Cody, I don't have a job here right now. I just show up every damn day and follow someone in the parking lot, and then if you can't get in the back door, there's gonna be someone out there smoking. So just stop and talk to them
Yeah,
instead of
that's true. One
walk
of the
in.
engineers will let you in.
Yeah, or just someone on natural traffic will open, and as long as you pretend like you're talking, and when someone opens the door, just catch it and be like, "Hey, I gotta go." And
hmm
I did that from January to April until I actually got a shift working the
You didn't
overnight
wait. You didn't have a building pass for
Mm-mm.
like
for like 4
4 months.
months. Yeah, it was like catch me if you can, dude. I would
I
go to
I don't think I got one until I officially got hired. I don't think I had one either.
yeah, so the best days were when you had remotes, which was almost like 2 days a week. So I would go out there and I wouldn't have to worry about being locked out of the building. And I would tell the
hmm
engineering people I was with the promotions crew, and I tell the promotions crew I was with the
Was it the
engineering.
engineering crew? Nice.
Yeah. And so, and you go and you help both of them, you run some cables, put up some banners, and then people open doors for you, oh, I forgot my card, and you're everyone's friend after you've been doing that for right? Yeah, that's great. He's cool. He forgot his card, whatever. Here, come on in. Clearly you work here. You wouldn't do this for free. What an idiot.
Yeah, who would do that?
So yeah, that was the James program. And so you
hmm
rode that wave just sneaking in.
Yeah, it
All
worked
right.
out.
So were you assigned to us or did who hired you? Did Sybil hire you? Did Eric hire
Sybil,
you?
Sybil
Bobby?
hired me. So I
Sybil hired
interviewed.
you. So you had to go
Yeah,
and to meet with Sib.
yep. I interviewed with her, and did all that, and then probably I don't know the timeline after that, but I sat down with her. I think it was before the show. It was real early in the morning, interviewed with her, blah blah blah, and then I think it was a couple of days later. I don't know if she ran it by y'all. I don't remember the process, but
Nah, if
no.
Sybil was cool with it, that was fine. Because we saw you guys as pretty much her problem. You know what I mean? And not I don't mean to say like you guys like, but she needed to be comfortable working with you guys because the majority of the stuff you guys are going to become or doing is going to be dictated to you by her. She's going to tell you what needs to be. So she needs to be. She didn't really clear anything
Yeah,
up.
her and Eric did most of that. That was kind of basically reporting, although it was technically still Eric, even though Bobby was still there at the time.
Bobby was
So
with
he,
us the other day.
oh yeah, he was still for yeah. So there was a lot of waves I got to ride during my tenure there.
In what period were you there? Like when you first tell me the makeup of the show staff. It was obviously always Kelly and me, but was it Bobby on the board, Eric on the board, Reagan on the board? Tell me when you first arrived, what was the makeup of the show? Who were your fellow interns?
Bobby was on the board.
Okay.
Eric was technically I don't remember his title. I think he was part of the producer because he did a bunch of other random stuff.
Tech guy.
And yeah, and then Kent was the other guy with me because there was only two of us at that time.
Kent! What
Yeah.
happened to Kent? Sybil must not have liked him. Because see, I just told you, Kent. I forgot about Kent.
Yeah, it was only us two. So, and obviously Eric as well. So, but yeah, Bobby was on the board at that time.
Okay. All right. And then when you left, by the time you left, who were the people that were on the show?
Oh God.
See, this helps me with my memory too, though. When I can sort of frame you guys this way.
Well, so because you was still Kelly, you was still Sybil, and Eric was on the board, and oh God, who was the interns then? There were so many at that time.
Randy? Was this a Randy era?
It might have been that time or after Randy.
Angela?
Angela was before Randy, I feel.
Okay.
And then Christy Brinkley, I think she was there around the Randy time too.
Oh, yeah, Christy Brinkley. We gotta talk to Christy Brinkley.
Yeah, so Randy.
We literally had a blonde intern girl whose
name
was Christy Brinkley. That's
Sort
crazy.
of. Yeah.
What was her name?
Mm-hmm. Who was married to another employee at that place.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to know.
I don't remember I remember a couple of them, but I don't remember. Those are the ones that stand out at me. So I think Lacey was in there. I think she was before most of them. Because I think she was kind of after me.
Yeah, I don't know when Lacey was there. I mean, I remember Lacey being there, and I remember a lot of the stuff we did with Lacey because she was great. But I don't remember like what time periods. Like, I just assume all of you guys know each other. Like, I'll give you an example.
For the most part.
A couple of months, but no, not really, because a couple of months ago, we went out with a bunch of us, and James and Lacey were in the group that we went out with. And I just assumed that James and Lacey knew each other. And they didn't know each other. I thought they were working on the show at the same time, but they didn't. They worked at different times.
Okay, so you were you a fan of Live 105.3 or were you just a fan of Pugs and Kelly? Did you like the other shows? Did you like Loveline or anyone else?
I mean Russ. I was a fan of Russ. And then okay, so it was that, and then it was mainly just Pugs and Kelly and Russ that
Stern?
block.
Were you a Stern listener?
I was never a Stern guy.
I was the one that drugged me into the
I mean, obviously everyone knows of who he is and you hear bits and pieces and it's funny, but I was never like, a P1 or something who just had to listen to him all the single time, but it was mainly y'all. And then eventually, and Russ. So it was that kind of block of like, the 11-ish to 7-ish.
Let me ask you a question, because this is really what I'm looking for. I'm looking to hear, what is your best memory? Give me, if you got one story, you got to give us one story about your time at 105.3 that would pretty much sum up what that nonsense place was. What would your story be? What would be the story you would tell?
It's one of my favorite ones that I tell my coworkers now, and then I can still believe it. And even telling the story, I have to like pull myself back. I'm like, that really happened? Okay, it really did. Because there was a lot of those nights. So the one I remember is we went out to the Improv one night. As we did all the night. All of us. You, I think Kelly was there for a bit.
So it was one of those nights on a Friday where we just took over the Improv because the head
pretty much
and did the show with us. And
Sean
Yes.
blocks the door so he lets everyone
was
in
a
the back
friend
table.
or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
So we all just decided we'll meet at the Improv. Here's how it used to go, right? We'd meet at the Improv for like the 8, 9 o'clock show. No one would commit to the late shows because we wanted to go out and party afterwards. So we'd all meet, we'd have our nice tables, and then we'd go from there. So it was one of those nights. Okay, continue.
So I would like to correct you. Not always, because sometimes on the Saturday shows we would stay for the 11 because that's when the guests or the comics were the most like juiced up, like and drunk. So
Yeah,
typically it was more entertaining.
And
but
that was
for
date
me,
night though. Saturday night
True.
late show, 'cause that's date night, and you got to bring the new girl that you just met, and she's going to be impressed that Sean pulls the velvet rope for you, and you can skip the line and yada yada.
so I
Mhm.
was just going to say, not exactly that, James, but whether or not I was sticking around for the late night crazy bawdy show was it depended almost entirely on if I was with a girl. And even then it depended
Mhm.
on what girl I was with. Because there were certain girls that I dated over the years who would have been cool with that, and others who would have been like, "Can we go and meet up with my friends?" I had a couple of those too. So, but yeah, the late nights, the really late night ones where we would stay and do all 3 shows with them and then go out with them afterwards, that was always just the boys.
Right.
That
So
was
in this
Mhm.
story though, do you remember the comics?
Yes, I do. It
Okay.
was the pairing of Don Jamieson and Florentine. So it was those two always. So they were there, and I think this was a boys' night for the most part. I think I most of that it's blurry, but I just remember it was the late show on a Friday or Saturday, so it was 11 o'clock show. And so we sit at our normal table, our usual table, so to speak. And it's just any other comedy night we go to. And obviously, um, we all kind of made jokes about it through the night, like during the different jokes. Was the prime time table was that big long table right in the middle, like that was like dead center of the stage was the biggest table.
Yeah.
Because we kept looking because that table didn't look like they belonged because it's Addison, people, it's date night, people dress in nice stuff, so to speak, in a way for, like a date night. But this
Yeah,
group, like,
traditionally, it's the bachelorette party table. It's
right,
the giant table where when you come in with 16 drunk girls, that's where they sit them right there in the middle of the room because they're a good target for the guys on stage.
right. This wasn't that group. So we didn't realize till about halfway till Florentine actually acknowledged who they were.
Ooh.
Because we did not know because at the time we knew Florentine was a big metalhead and so was Jameson. He actually acknowledged it. It was Pantera that was in the crowd because they were huge fans of Florentine and Jameson. So it was so that's what I'm saying. Just imagine Pantera the band and all the rockers sitting at the middle table in Addison at an improv club.
For you, that had to have been amazing as a
I,
little Texas metalhead.
yeah, I was just I was like, really? I was like, it's just
Sharing
there's
the
so many
same
questions.
chair with Pantera in a
Yeah.
comedy club. Mhm.
Right, which you don't see. So anyway, we go through the whole show, everything else. So typically, we never really did the last show because it doesn't leave you a lot of time to go drink because of how late that show goes. Typically, it's like 1:30, and then most of the time we have to like literally walk across the hall to Pete's because we can't make it to any other bar before they close.
Right.
At this time,
Pete's being the dueling piano
right.
bar across the hall from the Improv Comedy Club.
So we're sitting there, and so we're all talking, and hanging out with the comics after the fact. Somehow, I don't remember the context, but Parentera was all of them talking to us with Vinnie Paul and everybody else. All he knew is we were fans of Florentine and we were in. They had the idea to go back to the clubhouse for an after party that night, and we all got invited. And so my
Did you
favorite
go?
oh, absolutely, I went. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? So I just remember because
Did I go?
I feel like you did for a bit,
Nah,
but
because there's been a number of those, and I've skipped out on a couple of
Wait,
them.
what was
you
the
might
one
have.
where someone, I'm not going to name any names, had to learn the hard way why we don't kiss strippers? Was it that night? Is that what we're talking about? Because I
No,
wasn't there, but I heard the story.
no, that was a different story. No,
Yeah.
that was not
All
that.
right,
That
so
was
get
not
back
that.
to your story. So
Anyway,
we're now what? We're over at Pantera's Clubhouse, which is a gentleman's club here in
All
well,
Denver.
new.
well, not yet. Well, not yet. So I went
Oh,
before we get to that part. It was, of course, one of our friends was asking because it is BYOB. It's you have to bring your own. At this point, we're not going to get to a liquor store in time to get there. To provide what we need. And this is one of the best lines I've ever heard anyone say. Vinnie Paul put his hand on whoever it was and just said, "Dude, it's called ownership. We got you covered."
Hey,
So we
Terra boys,
yeah.
wonderful boys.
So we get there and we had their own little section, everything else. They open up a closet of just floor to ceiling. It looked like it was a liquor store in a closet because it essentially was. And they were just passing out drinks left and right. They didn't know who we were.
See, now,
They
what people need to understand, what people listening need to understand, you think, oh, well, they went to a gentleman's club and what? They've got a liquor room. No, this is a dry gentleman's club. This is a gentleman's club that if you want to, they cannot sell alcohol. You can bring in your own, it's BYOB, but they can't sell alcohol. And the Pantera guys, because it's their clubhouse, they literally did. I've actually been in the pantry room that you're talking about, which is just, it's like a liquor store that is just right back to where all the strippers, right next to where the strippers change.
Right,
Mhm.
and the reason they do that is not just because it's a pain in the ass to have a liquor license, but the laws on what the girls can and can't do changes with the withholding of the liquor license.
Yeah, fully
So
nude, right? Fully nude.
and how late you can stay open too.
Yeah.
Because if you sell alcohol, you have to adhere to the 2 a.m. thing. If you don't, stay open as long as you want. I know this because I left at 6 a.m. So
Yes,
that's a great night.
who were you hanging out with that night? Who did you can you tell us? Like, who were you sitting with? Like, I want to know what group of people. Like, was it you? Was it Kojak? Was it with Bowie with Paco? Who were you with?
Cool.
Kojak and Paco weren't there. I know Sybil was there for a bit. My buddy was there with me because he went to the show with us.
Mhm.
God, I don't remember who else was there. There was a lot. It's just, I think it was, you might have dipped out, but it was all your normal boys that, um,
Aaron, Kevin, Rob.
Nah,
uh,
Aaron wouldn't have stayed without me. He
no,
wouldn't
Aaron would have stayed
like
because,
Aaron wasn't a strip club guy. He didn't like strip clubs. Neither did I.
so it was Smith wasn't there, and I can't think of the other gentleman's name, and I feel bad because I talked to him most of the nights we went out. He did all the glass work and everything else.
Oh, Coach B. Coach
Yeah,
B.
Coach B. Believe he was there for this for a bit. Yeah, so
Oh,
Rob,
sure.
it- yeah,
Rob.
Rob. Thank you. That's right. Okay, but
Any other memories that you have from those days, Cody? Back in the 105.3? What do you got?
oh, just I think just being at the station and how surreal it was sometimes with just the guests that would come in and just all
Like who?
this.
Like what was surreal about it? What guests? Give me some guests that you saw come in.
Oh man,
Any
we
good
had
celebrity interactions? I mean, I know that the Pantera boys blew you away, but anybody
yeah,
else?
little country boy in the strip club. Man, we had a lot of fun. A lot of the comics. One of the best
You
ones I
used to get
thought.
excited with the wrestlers, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I really
Yeah,
did.
you were one of the guys. Kelly and I didn't know who John Cena was, and all of a sudden Cody's like, "John Cena's coming
I
in."
was like, why is Cody showing up on his day off? Oh, there's a wrestler here. That's why. Okay.
Oh, that's it.
Um,
Big Jim Ross is hanging out with us today.
yeah.
That's why
Um,
Cody's here.
I mean, all the comics I loved because I got to like the one I still am. I've been searching for like 10 years now to find the picture when Daniel Tosh showed up before he was Daniel Tosh.
Yeah,
Because there's a photo that y'all made fun of us because it's so funny to see him now in the studio. He was so introverted. Like he had his hat down, pulled above his eyes, like he wouldn't make eye contact with y'all to the point where they joked with it. Him and I are standing next to each other because we had very similar body builds. So we had a hat over our head holding a microphone. You couldn't tell us apart in a photo because we had very similar builds.
yeah. Daniel Tosh used to do the show a lot, like just before
Mhm.
he got, even when he got Tosh.0, he did the show for a little bit, trying to promote that. But he's a weird guy. That is a weird guy. Literally, you go into a commercial break, like, oh, Daniel Tosh is there, right? Daniel, stick around for another segment. Yeah, I'll stick around for another segment. That'd be great. Okay, all right, we'll be right back. More Daniel Tosh commercial break, and exactly what Cody described.
Yeah,
Quiet,
just
immediately
sit
shuts
down.
up, doesn't will
mhm.
not interact with you in the commercial break. And if not rude, but if you go, hey Daniel, can I get you something? He'd be like, no, I'm good, thanks. He left nothing. Everything was for the air. Everything was for when it was on. And it was odd, but I kind of understand. That's how he works. He's just a quick mind, you know. And
Mhm.
All right, so did you have a favorite evening show? Because there was a nice rotation of some shows that I thought were pretty good, whether it was Liz Wild or Mish or whoever came on after that. Then there was Big Dick Hunter. Did you have a favorite evening show?
Um, I think I wasn't there during Mish. I might have been. I don't remember the timeline on that, but I know Liz was there, and that was always very entertaining after a show. That gaggle of people walking through. That was that was that like
They
if
are
we could have.
the Liz Wild show are shock radio gypsies. Those people, they just have a caravan and they go from city to city and they just outrage you. Yeah, that's funny. There was just a gaggle of like, I'm not going to call them hangers on, support staff, I guess would be the professional way to, but man, that was an interesting crew of people.
It was a
That
parade
yeah.
of mutants.
It was just that was like if you could take a snapshot of that radio station, I felt like that would have been perfect because just the dichotomy from our show, and then obviously we have a couple hours between Russ, but then it comes to the Liz Wild. It's like you're like, oh, did they just leave the door open for these people? Like, what happened? It's
No, they all served a purpose. Look, I love Liz, and by the way, we shouldn't be as reckless as we are with the making fun of the people that were in Liz's orbit, because that's how we got Sam. And I wouldn't trade. Sam the mailman is like aces in my book, and
no, but
he came from that show. So
no,
I
no, but
want to mix Sam in there.
but you also think we had Jimmy was also in there who did promotions and like just a jack of all trades. You had Sugar Bear who did voiceovers for the entire station, who had like talk about voices not matching the person.
Uh,
Like it was like just the deepest baritone voice you ever heard. And you look at him and he looks like, but he also did production value for
didn't
years
she have
after
a
the fact.
boyfriend? Didn't you? Who was her boy? Did she have a boyfriend that was trouble? That it kept
Wasn't
getting
it?
in trouble?
Wasn't it Mickey? Wasn't that him?
Was that
Or
him?
what? I I don't know.
That's the dude that lived in the box in the parking lot.
I think that's him. Yeah.
Christmas.
I don't remember. There was just I didn't talk with Liz that much. I talked more with the other people on the show, but yeah, it was just all of a roving casting characters, um, and then obviously Dick Hunter's show, and I mean that's kind of what we had for the nights. I mean, we had Loveline and Lycus for a
Yeah.
bit.
Enough of this boring stuff. Did you
Oh
ever have
God,
sex in the office?
what's that?
Did you ever have sex in the office? Because apparently everybody else on the show, except for me, everybody else had sex in the office.
Yeah,
Everybody. I'm looking at my partner Kelly too. Everybody apparently had sex in the office.
yes, I did. Yes.
There you go. Somebody else had sex in the office. I know a listener who had sex in our office, and not a listener having sex with one of you. No, this was just a listener having sex with probably somebody who didn't even listen to the station having sex in our office.
All right, so the name of the project we're working on right now is Who Killed Live 1053 in the eyes of Cody Burleson, who killed Live 1053.
Yeah, what do you think happened here? I guess what we're talking about is why that station went away, why they felt it had to go away. It was making money. It was a ratings winner. The audience liked it. Cody, what are your thoughts? Who killed Live 1053?
Oh man, I say it because I don't believe you can put it solely on one person. I think you can probably put it on a couple. For me, I think
Yeah, look, with this question, I'm not looking for one person. I'm looking for a set of circumstances. I'm just looking for you to tell me what you think happened. That's all. I'm not literally looking for an individual to hang in the town square.
well, I mean, for me, I think the death knell was the Russ domestic violence thing. That obviously killed the station right there because once that happened, they had to kick him to the curb, and that was basically the station was his point. Y'all are gone at that point. Howard was. I don't remember if he was still there.
No, he'd been gone for years because we had Jagger.
Yeah.
Oh,
David
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So
We
did you?
had Howard, we had Opie and Anthony for 2 years, and then we had Jagger for 2. So Howard had
Right.
been gone for a good 4 years.
So okay, so yeah, so we had Jagger and the crew. Y'all were gone at that point. So basically, and then Dick Hunter was at night, and then all the other shows that you had. And so I mean, let's be honest, Russ's show, I mean, it did well in the ratings and carried for a bit, but once that happened, they didn't have a choice. And so I think that was the death knell for it. But I think a lot of it just stems from the people that were maybe it was arrogance from the management or to think they could, they were, they kind of let things be. And, because there was a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know that made it very infuriating at times
Well,
because I
I've
felt
always felt that there was very little management. There was
well,
very
but I think
you
that's
know,
what's
there
right.
was this irritating level of corporate intrusion on things that you wanted to do, but there was the day in, day out needling of management that I think is sometimes needed. I think sometimes
Right, hang
broadcast
on now. Y'all bring that up, but that's not what killed the station. Would have no bearing on whether or not he slapped around his fiancée at the time, or whether or not the Cowboys were trying to get a new home, and CBS wanted to jump on that at all costs. And it's not just one factor, but I don't think if we had a different manager in there that it would have saved Russ from getting arrested. And that's the
No, but you could have had but the other things that happened before him to transpired, you could have maybe have salvaged it because
Yeah, wait a second. I don't know, James. I think maybe if you had a truly good manager of talent that could have been, an effect on him in the years prior, that might have led to a point where he didn't feel so emboldened, like he could get away with anything. I think part of the reason that he was so out of control and behaved the way that he did was because he had absolutely nobody, his bosses included, that were ever checking him. So I don't know. I think that a really staunch, stern manager, somebody that maybe he could respect. I don't think that he respected the manager that he had.
right, and oh, yeah, that was obvious. I don't think respected anyone other than maybe outside of the people on his show to an extent.
I think he respected like the regional presidents and stuff like that. The big corporate bosses. But yeah, you're right. No, there was nobody boots on the ground in Dallas Fort Worth with CBS that I think he respected or feared.
Right, and I think, yeah, that was it too because the management did needle in on certain things, but it was stuff that certain people tried to flex their power to show that they had power when they really didn't. And so that was kind of frustrating because it was kind of like a double standard in certain aspects. I know, especially for me, who was running the board for various shows, because yeah, we're not really on the air talking, but we see a lot because of everything that's going on.
And speaking of that, so take me there. You were there at the end. You were there on the final days when the secret meetings were taking place. What did
Mm.
you see? What was the mood? Was there a lot of dudes in suits
how are
suddenly
you
walking
told?
around the hallway? Yeah, tell me about that.
I actually found out about a week before because I all the stunting that we did the for all the for everyone remembers after they pulled Russ
Big bad
off.
music. Yeah, they played college marching band music, right?
Yeah, guess who did all that?
Yeah, you, I'm guessing.
Me. I did
In
all of
case you
that.
didn't
I
know.
produced all of that, so I knew about a week before.
Yeah, it was
And
Gavin's idea though, right?
yeah, it was.
I'm sure you did a beautiful job with the work, but that is such a hack, non-creative
It
idea.
was oh god, it was brain dead to do it. It was so
Done
easy.
by every other sports team or every other sports station that ever stunted or flipped. It's just
Put
unoriginal.
I mean, like I've learned from James and Eric about splicing audio and how to do it and have fun with it, but just literally piggybacking marching band songs for that long, it's just, it was it was bad. So I'm actually the one that did it. So and I had to go through the night before. I was working real late because I was clearing all the bumpers and the music out of the library for of Russ's show because I had to clean all of that up because if you didn't, you did not want that firing off on a random anything else. So I actually knew about a week before
Were you
when
ever up there? Did you ever see him up there after he'd been fired? How did he behave?
no, because so here's the thing, and a lot of people Russ would always walk in at like 2:55, 3 o'clock right before his show. He did that as in a normal day. He walked in, there was a couple suits that met him in the hallway. He never made it to his studio
So he comes walking in,
with
right?
his bag and everything else, and then
Bag
you
and
just
everything
see him
at the
talking to
side
him.
door, and there were two dudes in suits standing there.
Yeah, and I don't remember who it was. I wasn't paying
Human
attention really.
resources and probably a regional manager.
Could be. I
Yeah.
just remember he really did. So if you remember Live 105.3, you walk through the back door and then there's
Mhm.
that hallway where the restrooms are. You break off to the right. He never made it past that hallway and basically just turned right back around and went out
He
in the
walked
parking
like, did he
lots.
walk they went out in the parking lot, or did they walk to an office?
No, they worked out in the parking lot from what I can remember. So I
Okay.
don't know if they were talking out there. I don't remember what it was, but he wasn't in the building long.
James, they ambushed him. They completely he probably prepared one wang dang dilly of a show. He's walking in, he's ready to do it. Wham! That's how quick the blade drops, people.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
they don't do this in all professions, do they? Have this level of security around people getting fired? Because, like, I've worked in corporate jobs, and if you got fired from Hewlett Packard, there would be an HR nerd that brought you a box that let you pack up your cubicle and then walk you to the elevator and walk you out the front door. But there wasn't like two guys blocking your entrance and turning your ass around into the parking lot. And then, you know, that's we see all kinds of weird firing scenarios in the radio world that I just didn't see when I was in a normal company.
Yeah, it's
Co-
very weird.
Cody, were you there the day that we walked?
I No, because I was there, but I came in after the fact because that's when I was working nights, like 5 to midnight. So I'd always see after the show. So I
Mhm.
just remember walking in and there was just a lot of chaos going on, and I really didn't know what was going on. I was hearing different things. And of course, my favorite part, all the other producers and people are like, "Oh, this is what happened." I'm like, "Okay, that's clearly not what happened because I don't believe you." Because the people that always claim they know what happens, because inevitably when all this stuff happened, my phone's blowing up with my friends. And they're like, well, this certain other person said this happened. I'm like, yeah, that's not how it went down. Like, well, how it went down? I'm like, I can't tell you. That's how this works.
There
Like,
are
I'm not.
only 4 people. There are only 4 people who witnessed it, and those 4 people are me, Kelly, Eric, and Gavin. That's it. Those are the only 4. Anybody else who tells you anything that those 4 people, well, actually, I don't know what Gavin would tell you because he's on the other side. But if you want to know, just ask Eric. Eric
I
was
think,
there. He
yeah,
saw it with his eyes.
Eric told me later in the evening and kind of, and because he was still there, because I guess he was trying to figure out what the hell next. So,
Mhm.
but so I heard it from him. So that was what I went based on. So, but yeah, I was there later in the evening. I wasn't there physically when it happened, but
Yeah, no, he was great. He stole all of our stuff. The only Pugs and Kelly material that I still have is stuff from Eric on that day because I remember telling him, whatever best of stuff we have, put it all, can just put it all in the trunk of my car right now. And he's like, yeah. And then he found more stuff like weeks later, and we met clandestinely at a parking lot where
okay.
he filled up my trunk with my stuff.
Okay, so I can admit this because I believe the statute of limitations are up. Well, I try to get me for this
Yeah.
because well, I didn't actually go through with it, but when y'all went to the bone
Mhm.
after the fact, because I was still there doing my normal job and like everybody else's because everybody decided to leave. So then Cody's like, "Oh, you're going to do 7 people's jobs, okay?" And budget cuts. They fired a bunch of people. Didn't bother telling me. So then I'm doing their job anyway. So lo and behold, I have my own office, which is fantastic. But I'm hating life at this particular juncture in my career, radio career. At the time, I had a really good idea, and Eric was with me on it. And then he chickened out at the very last minute because you were doing a live broadcast, I believe, at was it Duke's and Irving or one of those places that we always used to go to the point where I snuck out the 360 in my car and was going to give it to you during the live broadcast. But someone told me, it's like, that's probably not a good idea if they ever found out and get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. So it literally was in the car at, at the parking lot where you're doing the live broadcast.
Oh,
So
I'd like to have that today.
I know. I kind
Yeah.
of wish I did it though, but oh well.
Is that the show where Eric quit by saying, "I'm out here. This is my last day, and now I'm going to go listen to Pugs and Kelly on the Bone," and he turned the microphone off? That's
No, because see, here
that's how Eric quit. Eric
I
was running the board. He said
I
that.
know. I know. I quit before Eric. So that was
Oh,
the
you
thing.
did?
Eric
Oh, okay.
Oh, did, yeah, because I turned in my resignation and then I just remember Eric looking really, really depressed, like, oh damn it.
All
Because
right.
he was
Now everybody's gone.
Yeah,
Now
I don't know.
yeah.
What's your quitting story? What were you doing? What was your job at the time? Why'd you leave? Where'd you go? How did it happen?
Okay, so at this point I'm doing I'm doing production and commercials and everything else. I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm doing David Stone's work with the commercials, editing audio. I'm basically helping Lee at this point, being like the assistant programmer, doing the logs and all this stuff. Again, I'm in the weeds. People don't care or know what this is. Basically doing a lot of background work that makes the station run and tick. I stayed late New Year's Eve because when everything clicks over to the new year, that those ones and zeros get messed up. So I'm there and I'm like freaking out because I haven't seen Lee. Well, they found out.
that's
They
how
told me,
that's how modern our tech was back then.
yeah,
Somebody had to be at the radio station at midnight of a new year,
yeah,
or
to
else
click everything over, make sure it works. But
embarrassing.
So in typical corporate hackiness, they did budget cuts the day before the new year, for the fiscal year. So they
Mhm.
cut a lot of people, including Lee, who was the assistant program director. So
Oh,
yeah, so he got the axe. So lo and behold, like that next week, I'm basically the interim assistant program director. I'm pulled off the board. Gavin does. So now I'm overseeing all of the board ops, helping them at whenever they need me to call me, and I'm doing all this. Oh, wait, I'm still making like next to nothing hourly, by the way. It was just to the point where I was working tremendous amount of hours. I still like doing it, but it just the burnout was coming fast because I was working 6, 7 days a week with no help and I was getting no benefits from it whatsoever. To the point where, you know, at this point, certain people were like congratulating me because they thought they were going to promote me to assistant program director, and I'm like,
mhm.
that's never gonna happen. Gavin was going to give it to his buddy, which he did. So,
Who's the
and
bud?
was his name Ryan? He was the guy over at Carol D, the other guy, the younger guy. He was the like his assistant PD over at that station.
I don't
And so
know.
they yeah, I don't think you would. But so basically I'm going through this, doing all the processes. And so the NASCAR race at TMS is coming up. And for anyone that knows, I worked my ass off for those weekends when those shows. I would get like 40 hours in those 3 days when the races would be on. I would basically live at the station. And so I saw that on the horizon, and it was about March, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I was the one that handled it. So about a week before the race, I put in my resignation. I'm like, yep, you have fun with this because I'm not going to do this. So have fun.
And then
And
how long before you left? You left town. You moved down south, right, to Corpus Christi?
yeah, that was like a year later. Because I worked some other random places, for like a motorcycle shop and a bunch of other stuff, going to school, and then I finally moved. But yeah, I walked into the office, sat down with Gavin, gave my resignation notice. I'm like, here you go, have
What's his
fun.
reaction? Good luck.
Hey, he was like taken aback by it. I think he was actually shocked by it because, and I I didn't want to throw him under the bus, although I wish I had, because he was acting what it was. Like, what was it? And I just basically told him, I was like, it's just there's an underlying a level of like disrespect that I feel like I've earned here. I've put in the work, but I'm still getting treated like I just started like 3 days ago, getting everything dumped on me. And certain hosts were being just pains in the asses, and I'm getting no support whatsoever. And they don't know me or treating me like I don't know what I'm doing, even though I clearly outlasted most of them. And so the only people that were very, very upset by it was Ben and Skin, and obviously Eric, because Eric was doing their show at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember after the fact, they were very sad to see me go, but everything else. And I just remember I heard it from after the fact that Eric was like severely depressed once he saw that I actually quit. Cause he goes, I don't know what we're going to do. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's like, Cody does everything so much that people don't even know what he does.
Yeah. Well, you and Lee and, there's so many people there that, the glue that holds the place together that never get any credit. They get worked into the ground. It's
It
that's
is
great.
but and I will defend Lee because I love working for him because he would always go to bat for us all the time to the point
Yeah,
where
that's important because some people have talked about Lee and they've said some not so great things. So go ahead, balance it out. Tell us some good stuff about Lee.
so because he was always there front and center when we were there for the NASCAR races because we would
Yeah.
always be there running them, and I would be there from 7 a.m. to like midnight just running all the races and all the shows and everything else. And he would always be there front and center, like, hey, if you want food, I'll go order food, whatever else. Certain people would try to come in and like see what's going on,
Yeah,
and he
so
would
he
just,
took care of you guys. So he
yeah,
took
he
care of like the younger guys that he was in charge of the scheduling. I'm like, good for him. That's good to hear about Lee. I didn't have really any run-ins with Lee because he wasn't my boss. I wasn't his boss. You know what I mean? We were just
he
two
he
completely
wasn't right. He wasn't afraid to start anything because I remember so many times, like after the weekend was over, like Gavin and whoever the regional VP was, or I don't remember who it was at the time, would always be like congratulating everyone, like because basically there's two shows. There's what we do at the station, and then because we're running what everything is done at the stadium with Crash and Kenny and all those guys.
different.
So there's that part of it that's running that portion of it. And so they're always like congratulating those guys. Oh, you killed it. And meanwhile, literally, like, I could push a button and no one would have heard the race at all, and you couldn't have done anything about it.
All
But
the power you had.
exactly. And I had a counterpart in the other room who's pulling live audio clips. I'm producing because I'm going like, hey, if there's a certain pass or a certain crash, I'm like, get that audio. I want it. And then there was always these emails that go out, like, oh, congratulations. It never would mention us. And Lee would get pissed because he was just like, they're doing all this work and like, you're not even giving the time of day. So now I will go to bat because he always defended us and went to bat for us all the time. So.
Oh, very good. All right. Anything in closing that you want to say, James? Anything else that you want to wrap up here with Cody?
Yeah. So you moved to Corpus. Kelly moved to Corpus. Is that a coincidence, or y'all having an affair? What's going on?
Oh God, stop that. No, I had friends and family down there, so I moved down there and I just wanted a fresh start. And honestly, it
Helping
was,
out?
oh yeah, all the time. Absolutely. Because I was a couple months I was in there and I totally forgot that she had moved down there. So no, we hung out all the time. Like every Sunday was
basically Cody raised her children. I don't
Yeah.
want to take that away from Kelly, but Cody basically, right? I mean, you went from raising Declan and McKenna all through high school, and
I babysitted all 4 of her kids. Who else can say that?
you raised her children.
I mean, Declan was a groomsman in my wedding, by the way, and both him and McKenna both came up here. So,
Where you at?
I'm in Portland. I'm just outside of Portland, Oregon right now. So, but no, every Sunday was football Sunday. We'd go over there. She'd cook. We'd just drink, have a good time, and watch football all day long on all the TVs. That was every Sunday during football season.
Why's your office such a goddamn mess?
Because he's a busy man. He's a man of accomplishment.
Okay, first of all, it's not an office. It's like the spare bedroom that I've just taken over with my computer and gaming. If you notice this stuff right here, if you knew what this is, you would laugh because my wife hates every minute of it.
Porn? What is it?
Worse, comic books.
Yeah, that is worse. I'd rather have it be a bunch of 1990s hustlers than a bunch of 19.
No, unfortunately not.
Not Cody. Some chicks for the rest of us.
Hey, Cody, thank you so much for joining us on here. Now, I want you to commit to doing one that isn't a live stream, because I also want to have private one-on-one just conversations, and we can do it like this. I'll just record it, and then anything you say that you're uncomfortable with, I'll let you, have final edit on it. But commit to that and be a part of this podcast. What do you say?
Sure. We doing after the show, or was it before? Like
No. We're talking. I'll call you way ahead of time, and I'll say, hey, next week sometime you want to sit down and talk for about an hour about a whole bunch of stuff, because there's a bunch of stuff that I want to get into and start thinking about some stories and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for your time with us today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
Cody Dangalang Burleson. Look at him. There he goes. I love that kid. James, how does James just decide?
What? I thought you were done with me.
We got 2 minutes left on the clock.
Okay.
We can't do a little post-show wrap-up. We didn't talk about, I had a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about today, and now we're not going to be able to get to the stuff that I wanted to talk about, but that's fine. Whatever. James, anything in closing?
Well, I had some stuff in case Cody was unable to show up, but I guess we'll just push it till tomorrow. But
like what do you got?
Man, there's a reason why so many
people. All right, never mind. I'm not going to make you go into it.
Thank you.
Go away.
It would have been really funny, but we don't have time.
Go away.
Freaking hilarious is what it would have been. Epic.
Go away. All right, that's James Parker. We do this every Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I do a Monday through Friday stream. That's right. It's like talk radio without all the bullshit divisive politics. Monday through Friday, noon till, I don't know, sometimes 2, sometimes 1:30, sometimes 3. It all depends. It's hot topics, current events, headlines. If it's happening in the world, I'll tell you about it and I'll give you my hot take. We don't spend too much time on any one issue. Tell you what's trending, what the headline is. I give you why it's trending, and I give you my hot take, and we move on. Monday through Friday, hot topics, current events. Me just riffing into a camera about the world as it unfurls in front of us. Tip the show if you can. This show exists on your gratuities. You can send us a little something to the Venmo. You can send us a little something in the Cash App. Treat me like I'm your bartender. Treat me like I'm your barista. Treat me like I'm your car valet. Whatever. I don't know. Who do you tip these days? Everybody. See you tomorrow at noon. Bye.
Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come.